Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Reload podcast. Along with Nathan Gilsleider and Marshall Scott, I'm Justin Southwell, and tonight we're here to preview the game against Texas Tech. So it'll be a short, sweet episode because there's not much to preview. We are in for probably a pretty big hurting, as what it's looking like. These guys are pretty tough, probably your Big 12 playoff contender, but guys, anything that stands out to you as we're heading into this Tech beatdown is what it's looking like?
I don't know about stands out. I mean, when you look at this, they're a great team, and I don't use that lightly. I mean, this is a playoff caliber team that, they just got beat. That happens, as we remember in 2011. Sometimes you get snuck up on the road, especially. Doesn't take away from what they have done. They went in there with a backup quarterback. For me, when I look at this game, honestly, it's kind of like I want to see Tech up close. I want to see where we need to get to, what that looks like. And, I commend Texas Tech for what they've done in such a short period of time. I don't think Coach McGuire is some X's and O's savant, and it wasn't even but maybe 2 seasons ago, I wasn't sure that he would even survive. But it just goes to show when you get the Jimmies and Joes and that kind of involvement from boosters, what that can do. And I mean that no slide at all to Tech. Like, I'm impressed. And I think it's needed for the Big 12. Like, we need, as a conference, this representation. We need them to go win playoff games. We need them, the saying of high tide raises all ships. Like, we need them to continue to push the envelope in the Big 12 to make schools like Oklahoma State, when we find our next head coach, that the boosters' involvement says, hey, we may not be able to match Texas Tech, but we can get second or third in the Big 12 and we can compete, right? BYU's got a ton of money. Utah's got a pretty good amount of money. Those type of programs that we need to be. That's where Oklahoma State needs to be. And so, I don't know, when you look at this game, no, there's no accident in 5 touchdown underdogs. I think it's warranted when you look at it with the Jimmies and Joes. But just from that standpoint, like, I want to see Texas Tech. I want to see where we want to be. And so from that, I'm intrigued from that standpoint.
Yeah, it's the Tech has, the best scoring offense in the league and the best in terms of, keeping opponents from scoring in the league. They're giving up 14 points a game. They're scoring 43 points a game, 44 points a game, if you round it up. So it's just, I think it's fairly evident, why Tech is such a big favorite in this game. They do have some quarterback issues. Obviously, it looks like the redshirt freshman Will Hammond is going to start. Baron Morton's dealing with a knee injury that's, Will Hammond looked a little shaky last week, but I mean, it's still a pretty straightforward quarterback situation when you think of what's going on in Stillwater right now. So there's that going for them. They've, Justin and I talked a little bit before the pod, David Bailey, he's got 10.5 sacks already this season. If I counted correctly, Oklahoma State as a team has 13 sacks. Romello Height, another defensive end's got 5 sacks already. So it's like, it's going to be a tough night for whoever's, playing quarterback for Oklahoma State. And I mean, and on top of all of that, the crazy part about it is it's bad enough. Like, whenever, you look at all those stats, but then you think about the fact that Tech got upset last week. They're, probably more motivated now than ever. And you've got Oklahoma State coming to town. So unless it's like a Penn State level collapse after, that UCLA game and the wheels just fall off, I guess it would be the Oregon game. So maybe, Arizona State was this team's Oregon, and now Oklahoma State could be this team's UCLA. That's the straws that you need to be grasping at right now for Oklahoma State to be in this one, I think.
Dream scenario. But Marshall, you mentioned it'll probably be tough for whoever plays quarterback. We did see that Flores is off the injury report. So you'd imagine Flores is probably going to get the nod, right?
See, I don't know that for sure. And Meacham sort of played coy a little bit about it on Monday, said that it could be a platoon thing, that there could be some series with Flores. There could be some series with Sam Jackson. So maybe it looks a little bit like the Arizona game. I just think this is a rough spot to, you had a little bit to build on from last week. I think this is a rough spot to reintroduce Zane Flores into, even if, maybe Kevin Johns is like, hey, I wouldn't mind, using a guy who came here to play quarterback. But, maybe next week or the week after, I think they've got the bye. I think I went over that last pod where I was like, I think I would like, if they're going to throw another quarterback in there for them to get to this bye week, just sort of build whatever you can with what happened last week and sort of go from there. So that's that's sort of where I am on quarterbacks. I'm like I said, if Zane Flores plays, I'm not going to be like they shouldn't have done that just because it's like, well, they played a quarterback who's playing quarterback. So, but I think the team would be best right now, just with what you did last week, to sort of build off of Sam Jackson's performance and then maybe make a switch after that bye week.
Not expecting Oklahoma State to win by any means, but I believe that their best chance at potentially winning would be to have Flores come back and play quarterback. The reason I say that is because we know that Sam Jackson is a great athlete. You don't want to take him off the field. We'll put him at receiver and then get him the ball in the way that he was originally planned on getting the ball, just tossing it over to him. And I believe the way that it sounds like Meacham was talking, Haas Haney's probably going to come back at some point this year. I would believe that with his red shirt still intact, he'll probably finish out with the last 3 games of the year. And Flores, this is your chance to, have a few more games left at quarterback before Haas comes back and takes the job as QB1 again. So I feel like it's a good opportunity here for Flores to try to prove himself once again.
Yeah, well, before I go back, Haas, he already had that red shirt burned up. So this is only a medical at this point. And so if he does continue to play, that's pretty much gone. And I think that's probably the real juxtaposition you've got moving forward here for him. But at the end of the day, whether he wants to play for Oklahoma State next year for the new coach, whoever that may be, or somewhere else, he's got to put some good film out there. And you can second guess, you can do whatever you want. It is what it is at this point. This is where we're at in college football. And so he obviously loves his guys. He obviously cares about his boys. Everything you hear about Haas, it's the competitive nature, it's the intangibles that guys really cling to. And I think you're seeing that. He didn't go into the portal. He's right here with his guys. You saw him last week on the sidelines in a jersey and a ball cap, and there's been some reports of him throwing and doing some things this week, and so whatever that time is, I do fully expect to see him get the nod. But until that point, with the way that the team is currently constructed, I personally believe that Sam Jackson gives us the best opportunity to move the ball consistently because of what he can do with his legs. I wouldn't mind seeing a platoon situation where maybe you can even see if Zane looks more comfortable in his ability and accuracy. This is a tough matchup with Texas Tech and what they can do on their edge rushers. So I don't know how that'll go. Actually, I do know how that'll go. It's not going to go great. But, I mean, we kind of know what Flores is. And as much as that's probably not fair to him, this is where we're at as a program, and this is where we're at in college football. And there was very little shown to be like, hey, man, this is something we can work with moving forward if we can just do this. Now, in his defense, we didn't run the ball. And, that can go a long ways. But also you have to understand a lot of those runs came with what Coach Johns did last week with formations and making the linebackers shift a half person over when you went trips fully one side. But then that backside linebacker had to be held because of what Jackson can do. You don't have to hold with Zane. And so that completely shifts the numbers game a half person at minimum. So that changes a lot in the run game. And so you just kind of have to pick your poison. I do think we'll see Zane this week. I don't know how much, but I would be in favor of a platoon situation to kind of give him another opportunity. Like you said, Justin, I mean, he does deserve that opportunity. It was not only his fault why the offense really struggled while he was in there, but at the same time, he didn't do enough, in my opinion, to completely do away with the selfless act that Sam Jackson has done the last couple of weeks in his progress from week to week, to completely just say, thanks, Sam, you're out. You know what I mean? Like I just don't see that. And I didn't see it before he left. So at best, I see a platoon situation.
Yeah, and good call out on the medical redshirt requirements, because I saw that stipulation number 4 basically on here. You cannot return to competition later in the same season. So if he comes back, it's burned up. But he's a competitor. So come on back, Haas.
Well, and they're fighting right now, and it looks like they're going to win a minimum of 5 years eligibility. The Diego Pavia is doing it right now. Basketball's trying to do it. It looks like that's going to go away with the red shirt rule, and you're going to get 5 years of eligibility no matter what. We'll see how that all plays out. Guys are getting extension. You never know how that goes. But as of right now, he would basically be betting on himself to come back and put something out there.
Want to look ahead to the uniform preview because I saw Texas Tech. They tweeted out what their uniforms are going to be. White, red, white for the Red Raiders. And their crowd's doing a red out. So that's a thing. What do you guys anticipate Oklahoma State wearing against Texas Tech?
Surprise, surprise. I came into a uniform preview segment totally unprepared. So I'm going to now list every possible uniform combination. I think I'm going to go all white. I'm going all white. Has that happened this year? It's happened against Oklahoma State all year. I'll go all white, a cursive lid with a stripe.
Do you want to go with the orange or the black numbers?
I'm going to go orange numbers.
Okay.
This is the new definitive Marshall. He just says his uniform pick and he doesn't waffle on it at all.
What about you, Nate?
I think I'm going to go black, white, black with the cursive cowboy, white cursive cowboy, and I'm going to go black numbers with that little orange outline. So I'm going to go black, white, black.
I'll ride with you. That's exactly what I was thinking because it'll look really good of the balance between white, red, white. We can do black, white, black numbers. And actually, you're rocking a pretty good OSU baseball cap that outlines that perfectly. Got
That's right.
White and black, got the black letters with the orange outline, which I don't remember OSU ever wearing that in a game.
I don't remember that I saw it. This is an older one when they had the game ready before they went Nike, and they had quite a few. They had a couple different camos. They had this. They had lots of them. So I don't remember ever seeing it in a game also, but it was nice
for looks.
Just for looks.
Yeah, that's so good. The Reload podcast is brought to you by Brewster Consulting Group. Do any of these sound familiar at your company? Our processes are manual and inefficient with no documentation. Our data reporting takes forever and isn't accurate. We hear all the hype about AI, but have no clue what it actually means for our business. Our projects always run over time and over budget. If so, talk with our friends at Brewster Consulting Group. They help build organizations that run like well-oiled machines with clear processes, reliable data and reporting, and technology that actually works for you. Their team of Six Sigma black belts, PMP certified project managers, and seasoned data engineers have delivered solutions that are built to last for local clients like the Tulsa International Airport and Medify. They've also delivered solutions for large international enterprises like DP World. Even better, Brewster was founded and is run by a proud OSU alum and season ticket holder. Learn more about them at www.brewsterconsulting.com or learn more about their methodologies by connecting with them at Brewster Consulting Group on LinkedIn or YouTube. Ad read last time was better. All right, here we go. Questions in the chamber. Now Marshall's like, no.
I liked you did a nice little inflection at the very first line. The Reload podcast is brought to you by you changed that up a little bit, and I noted.
There you go. Got to switch it up sometimes. Do appreciate Brewster. Let's go over to some questions in the chamber. John Jester, and we kind of talked about this a little bit already, but let's give a definitive answer here. Who would you rather start at QB if both are healthy, Zane or Sam? And I think I pretty much said Zane. So Marshall, your turn.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Sam. Again, not long-term thing. I think if you want to go back to Zane, and especially if Kevin Johns wants to go back to Zane after taking over the play calling, I'm totally good with it, but maybe just not on a week where you're going against a guy that's got 10.5 sacks and Zane just got, hurt off of a sack. So yeah, I think for the Texas Tech game, Team Sam.
Team Sam also. I think he's done too much in the last couple of weeks, basically gave himself up for the season for the team, and I didn't see enough from Zane before that. That was different. So Team Sam.
Sounds like definitive Marshall persuaded Nathan, and now we have a definitive answer from, hey, either way, happy for these guys. Whoever, just go out and have success. Go have fun. Next question here from R11. How many champions will we have this year in wrestling?
You guys want to take a stab? Anybody want to take a stab?
I mean, 4 would be awesome, but
That would be sick.
how realistic is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
We're talking
Very,
Natty, right?
very realistic.
Yeah.
I think Spratley has a real chance. Who's the transfer from Penn State?
There's Alex Facundo or Zach Ryder.
Zach Ryder. Does Zach Ryder have a real chance? I think his upside is there, but he obviously didn't show much at Penn State.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 3.
All right.
I think there's a realistic shot of 3. Because I don't know if D. Lockett's got a real chance, but there's some talent here that if some of these guys hit, I think that there's a chance that some of them can really do something. So I'm going to say over under 3.
Yeah, I'll run through like the lineup a little bit. Troy Spratley's definitely got a shot. National runner up last year. Talked with him a little bit about. They had like a media day. Was it this week or was it last week? Honestly, don't even know at this point. But he was fun to talk to. Sort of talked about his mindset going in, and that like he wants to dominate everybody this year. He wants to like put a gap between him and the field. So he's definitely got a shot. At 133, if it's Richard Figueroa, he has won a national title before. He won it at 125 pounds 2 years ago. So there is that. At 141, Oklahoma State's probably not going to win a natty there. Casey Swiderski at 149 could. He missed last year with an injury. He was an All-American the year before that. That could turn into like a, hey, look, I'm under David Taylor, and all of a sudden I'm really, really, really good at wrestling. 157, it's probably going to be a young guy. 165, I love D. Lockett. Mitchell Messenbrink hasn't lost a match in like 2 years, and he's going to be at that weight. So that'll be, it would be an upset if he did. Alex Facundo, I've heard a lot of good things about sort of how he's worked. He was a starter in Penn State's lineup 2 years ago, got beat out for the 157 spot last year. He's at 174 now for Oklahoma State this year. So that's Dean Hamidy's weight. Levi Haynes, the Penn State guy, he's going to be the man to beat. I believe that Facundo had beaten Levi Haynes in like a US Open or something not too long ago, but like there's a reason that, Levi Haynes is still at Penn State, still very good wrestler. So he's going to be like a heavy national favorite. The 184 weight classes, which is Zach Ryder's in. Zach Ryder, redshirt freshman, transferred from Penn State. That weight class like blew up in terms of that's where Carter Starashi was, that's where Dustin Plott was, that's where Parker Keckheisen was. All those guys are gone, but they just like instantly got refilled. Angelo Ferrari's there, Rocco Welsh is at Penn State now. Zach Ryder comes to Oklahoma State, and I think there's Max McAnally, who was the third place finisher last year, beat Plott in the third place match. He was just a redshirt freshman last year, so he's really good. So that weight is like it got less deep and then instantly got deep again. Cody Merrill, that'd be tough to do as a redshirt freshman. And then I'm not expecting a national title out of Connor Doucette, but I do think that he can get on the podium and be an All-American. So it might be a little bit of a step back. These guys are all way younger than what last year's team was. But in those early weights, I think you're looking at Troy Spratley, Richard Figueroa, Swiderski, could if he catches fire. Alex Facundo could if he comes out looking as good as people say is. So there's that. And, nobody expected Dean Hamady or Wyatt Hendrickson to win last year. So still a lot of matches to wrestle.
So I like my 3. Yeah, I think 3 is a very competitive number there.
That is.
Yeah. All right. Maybe Ryder was maybe not the right call, but I feel like 3 was maybe. There we go. All right.
Excited.
If we could beat Angelo, that'd be great.
David Taylor, year 2. Here we go. Next one here from PE_poke. Dream hire for coaches. Realistic hire for coaches. Least favorite hire for coaches, in your opinion? A lot of questions in one question here. Dream hire. I'll go ahead and rattle them off. It's Zach Robinson with Todd Monken as the OC and Jim Knowles as the DC. Just throwing that out there.
Doesn't get any more dreamy than that.
That's a dream. Realistic hire? All of those 3. Again, I'm just kidding. He makes a match a little bit. I think Zach is a realistic hire. Monken, probably not. Knowles is on the fence as far as realism. So, and then least favorite hire for coaches, in your opinion? Yeah, I don't know. I'm still not sold on any of the G6 guys necessarily. I think that if they come into Oklahoma State, they have an opportunity to have success. Obviously, I'm going to be supportive of whoever it is. I'll just be a little less enthusiastic as I would be if it were Zach or Monken or Knowles.
My dream would also be Zach, who would also be my realistic hire. Coordinators, I don't know nothing about no coordinators, but Jim Knowles would be probably along those lines. Least favorite, Dana Holgerson doesn't deserve this random shot that he's getting on this random OSU podcast. But whenever his name was initially being floated, whenever Gundy got fired, I was like, I don't know that anybody needs to see that. Just didn't necessarily go the greatest at West Virginia or at Houston. So like he's a guy who's had his shot in the Big 12 and it didn't necessarily work out. So I didn't love the Holgerson talk whenever the firing initially happened. So that's where I'd lean.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go. I think Z-Rob's probably is my dream, my boy. But if I could draw it up, it would be Knowles as DC, Todd Monken as head coach, co-OC, with Z-Rob as the OC co-head coach. Like transition these 3 to 5 years, just hand it off.
I think they should share a headset.
That's exactly right. Yeah, there you go. You call the first and second down. He calls third and fourth down. It's kind of like what Auburn was doing. No, so that would be my dream. Realistic, I do think Z-Rob is realistic. I also think somebody like Eric Morris at North Texas is realistic. And I think G.J. Kinney is realistic. Like you said, I don't know how realistic Todd Monken is. There's been various reports of his interest, and I don't know what level that would be for this job or for this university. But I think when you look at, and I completely get your G6, like, I don't know, like, I think it kind of changes right now, especially when you look at where we're at as a program. And let's just throw around, you've got somebody like Eric Morris with a quarterback that's going to come with him most likely, and Mestamaker, who an offense that's leading the nation in points. And he also has a DC that he brought in that has drastically turned around their defense overnight. And so when you're talking about what Oklahoma State needs to be able to do very quickly, that's right there. That's boom. Hey, North Texas, he's a Texas dude. He knows all the Texas high schools. He can recruit the state of Texas. So I think something along those lines. And even if you brought in like a Zach and you brought in a Knowles, I think the ability to balance both of those is something that is realistic. And we know that there's a little bit of smoke with Coach Knowles as well, and his desire to maybe come back to the state of Oklahoma. So I don't know, for me, it's funny, on our little Slack chat, we talked this morning and I just threw out a Nathan's top 5 that absolutely no one was asking for. And it went Z-Rob, Eric Morris, Todd Monken, Golish, and G.J. Kinney. For me, when you look at guys like Morris, Z-Rob, and Kinney, and even Golish, but those 2 or those 3, it's very reliant upon who the other hires are and who stays and the structure that he builds. One thing that we talked about on the last pod a little bit, and I did some more reading because I just enjoy this stuff. I don't enjoy people losing their jobs, but I enjoy all the information that comes with it. And one of the things that the Virginia Tech hiring group, they have like 10 dudes trying to hire this position. One of the things that they said is that they started out and they're like, hey, we're going NFL style. We're going to hire a GM. We're going to get this structure in place. Then we're going to hire our coach. And then we're going to do. And the feedback they were getting from agents and from the agency that they were using is that if you do that, you are going to highly cut down on the pool of coaches that are willing to come in. And I found that interesting, and something that we talked about that Chad Weiberg noted in his conversation about this process was that he wants the coach to have input in the GM and the structure that's going to be put in place. So it's very clear to me that he got the same advice. And while it's not what I would, if I was the owner of Oklahoma State football, quote unquote, that's not what I would probably like to do. But it sounds like with the way that things are going right now in the state of NIL and how you want to allocate funds and those things, they really want to have somebody that they're in lockstep with on how they evaluate talent and where they want that money to go to. And I can't blame them for it. So all this is kind of wrapped into one, right? You've seen a little bit of smoke with Golish lately. He just seems SEC bound to me. Florida's open. Who else in the SEC is open? Is there another one SEC open yet?
Arkansas.
Sorry.
LSU potentially.
Yeah, I think Auburn's probably going to be open. It's a good chance LSU could be open. there's a good chance Florida State could be open. I'm not sure that fit is there outside of him spending a cup of coffee here, I think, for 2 seasons. So I don't know. For me, those are mine. And I think if you bring in a guy like I said, G.J. Kinney, Jim Knowles, that's electric right off the bat. Or Zach Robinson and a guy like Coach Knowles, or vice versa with Todd Monken and all those. I don't know how realistic those are all, but those are like things you have to put in place in my opinion, to hit the ground running.
Does G.J. Kinney stuff give any of you guys pause now that Texas Tech or Texas State has started 0-3 in Sun Belt Conference play? And some of this could be that, his name is getting thrown around now. Like, where is all his attention headed? Because and this is just total conspiracy fodder, but the Penn State job opens, and then now Nebraska's not as good at football now that Matt Rule's linked to that job. So I don't know. And there are plenty of jobs open that G.J. Kinney is probably on a lot of lists as jobs continue to open. But the things have not been going well at Texas State over the last couple of weeks, I guess is what I'm saying. Does that give you guys any pause, or is it that's like me. Such a short view of things though? Like you want to take in the whole body of work.
No, I think it does give a little bit of pause, because the numbers that you were kind of giving up for him, it wasn't like he went and won division or did all these things and made the playoffs. It was like, hey, Texas State's been pretty bad. He's kind of got him here the last couple seasons, and now they're here. Like, that's not fantastic. So it does give me pause. I do think to your point, Marshall, that's some of the reason maybe why you've not heard a lot of his name thrown around as you did when the job first opened up. Like, it was GJ and Zach and a lot of these guys, but I don't know. It's tough. I mean, you don't want to be like, what have you done for me lately? Because you want, right? You don't want to be like, well, if Golish makes the playoffs, he's the best coach ever. I mean, I don't know. You kind of maybe not. I mean, we've seen that happen. So you don't want to be that way, but at the same time, you'd like for him to maybe get 8-9 wins.
Yeah, this doesn't look good if you hire G.J. Kinney and Texas State, doesn't make a bowl game this year. And it's like, well, trust me, whenever the job was open, he was looking pretty good.
1,000%. And Nate, we're talking about North Texas earlier, Mustamaker and being like the nation's leader in passing. I get that, but competition. They're going against Lamar, Western Michigan, Washington State, Army, South Alabama, South Florida, UTSA, playing Charlotte tomorrow. It's kind of like
South Alabama is a quality football team.
Yeah, let's they go into
dogs on the road too.
They go into Lions Den and beat good football teams. Okay, we've seen that. Just kidding. But
they could have won the Big 12 championship that year. They beat a team that played in the Big 12 championship.
Okay, I hear you. Now hold on, I hear you. Right now, in a world, let's close our eyes and let's think about the coach that recruited John Mateer, Eric Morris, and took him with him to Washington State and played a terrible schedule. And he looked pretty good in the SEC. So I don't know. I could see Drew Mestamaker doing the same thing. And I don't mean that. And you're right. There's very valid points, right? Like, hey, these numbers are against these teams and whatnot. But man, Mestamaker can spin it. And whether he comes to Oklahoma State or wherever he goes, like, there's a very good possibility he's going to be the top 3 highest paid quarterbacks in the portal this next season. And he may take a discount to come with his coach and get drafted in the top 2 rounds. If he lights up the Big 12, that's a possibility. So I completely understand what you're saying. And that's a valid argument. But I would say we've seen over and over where guys have stepped up and continue to raise their level. And I could see it going both ways, but I would suspect that Coach Morris has done it, incarnate word with Ward. Then he went from there to Washington State, took Ward with him there. Then he recruited John Mateer. Then he went to head coach at UNT. Mestamaker had never even started a game in high school, and he's developed him and done this. Like, to me, that shows that Eric Morris is the consistent one in being quarterback talent and recruiting it and developing it, which is something that Oklahoma State has lacked very much. And while he doesn't run the ball how I would like, I think you have to do at a high high level, like a pro style like Zach does, that's something I think that can come along. But the eye and the ability to develop quarterback talent that maybe you don't get the top rated guy, but you can get somebody that you really trust and believe, I think is essential at Oklahoma State.
Yeah, honestly, of the group of 5 hires, and it's probably because Nathan has, hammered our group chat with Eric Moore's propaganda for like the better part of the last 2 weeks. But he's the one that I'm starting to believe in most of the group of 5 guys. So, and that, that was another glowing endorsement of him. And, I get the competition thing, but, he's playing them with people he could recruit to North Texas, So if he gets the Oklahoma State job and he's playing Big 12 teams, with a Big 12 team essentially. So yeah, I think of the group of 5 guys that most notably get mentioned, I think Nathan has drugged me into the Eric Moore's camp, but I still proudly plant my flag in the Zach Robbins thing. And honestly, whoever Chad hires, I think we what are we going to do? Switch teams that we talk about, and we're not going to
boycott.
Yeah. So
No chance.
It's just something that he's going to be in those meetings. He's going to have a better understanding of what this person wants to accomplish, or their vision of what they can accomplish, and we just sort of got to live with that.
And that's a good point, Marshall, because I don't want it to sound like I'm totally against hiring. I think I've already mentioned it before. I'm going to support whoever it is, but the burner accounts that are out there talking about don't hire Zach because XYZ, he'd be horrible. All you're doing is making a prediction. And if he ends up actually not being good, and then you come back 6 years later and you point to your tweet that says, oh yeah, nobody cares. We're going to hire you for the next search committee? Nobody cares. All that is negativity that you're putting out on the internet. Nobody wants to read that. So get behind whoever it is.
This needs a Gundy fart noise at the end of it. Go ahead.
And you've seen it from Chad Weiberg. There's quite literally nothing that is a better recruiting tool for a coach than what we did last weekend and what we've done so far from a fan standpoint. Because I think you've seen articles that'll say like sleeping giant, or they've got everything there. They just need to, part of that is that the fans are saying, hey man, we are here to support, and we're going to support whoever comes in. And that means a lot in this unstable environment that is coaching. And I just think it's paramount that we continue to do this as he continues to have these meetings with these coaches. And he says, listen, we're waiting and we're ready. And when you come here, it'll be 56,000 ready to have your back, no matter who it is.
It was funny when you said that. They're like, they've got what every coach wants right now is what was in the stands on last Saturday: a group of bananas,
banana boys,
a group of bananas. And if you come
right
here and you get them rolling, 56,000 bananas. Everybody will put on a banana suit if you figure it out.
No shirts and bananas.
Also, PE Poke, we kind of went off topic a lot and answered those questions and went way off topic, but I'm going to go ahead and say it here for dream hire for GM, Nathan Gilsleider. All right, here we go.
Bringing the boys with me.
OSU_Dan, because the actual football team is not fun to talk about right now. Let's talk unis and logos. Do you guys think OSU will ever have a major makeover of the logo? We've had the same, with some color variations, logo since 2001. Maybe a refresh isn't a bad idea to wipe away the memories of the last couple of years. Well, first of all, not entirely true. We used to have a beveled logo that got redesigned in 2001. That logo is gone. I think we replaced that in 2015, 2016, and we've actually updated even that one, I think maybe in 2019, where we got rid of the black outline across all that. But the bevel's
gone. Would you
gone.
like flames? Would you like flames on it? Is that what we're
No
going
flames,
for?
man. That was really cool for the 1 year that I saw it whenever I was 6 years old. But no, I was older than 6. But
one flame helmet would be a blast. One OSU flame helmet would be sick.
Gosh.
And then you make like a line of shirts, you make like a line of polos, and it's just like hey, we're making one batch of these. It's going to be on the helmet one game. I think that would be sick.
Okay. If you do that, you have to play Cowboys forever, and then you need to just just wear it out. Just one game when the prairie wind, yada, yada, yada. We need to do it.
What's hilarious is Cowboys Forever brought us the Phantom Pete logo, but people don't associate Phantom Pete with Cowboys Forever anymore.
Phantom Pete rocked, by
Outlast
the way. Justin, you're pro Phantom Pete, I'd assume? Or
Yeah.
no? Okay. This seemed like something you'd have a strong opinion on one way or the other, but I had a hoodie of Phantom Pete, and I was like, this thing rocks. I don't know why this is gone, why nobody does this anymore. But I think the only thing, and I don't think that...
if we're being fair here, I'm pro Cowboys Forever. Like everything,
Right.
like, hey, it goes, it's bad, then it gets good, and then it gets bad again. So
back to the logo talk. The only thing that I don't think that Oklahoma State should ever take the O, the S, and the U off, because whenever Oregon State or whenever Ohio State are like, no, we're OSU, and it's like literally look at the 50-yard line and then go look at your 50-yard line and then you tell me who's who. But the only thing that I could think of would be like, they've used Cursive Cowboys so much that like it wouldn't be like I wouldn't be like overly shocked one day if they were like, hey, we're just gonna make Cursive Cowboys a little more prominent than it once was. I'm not for that. Like I said, I think they should just keep OSU forever, but that'd be the only thing that I could think of.
The only other thing that I thought of that I really like, and they did it with basketball for a short period, was the O with the state, and and then just like using the O like on the hip and doing some things like that. But I don't know, the complete redo, I just don't necessarily see, because I think the old school brand is prominent enough now that that's like your bar level set.
Yeah.
And we've gone Jumbo Pete, we've gone Phantom Pete, we've gone Patriot Pete, we got Bronco Pete. I don't know what else you could use as a complete rebrand, but I don't know. I'm kind of getting to the point now with where we've been in the cycle. It's like we're not Oregon anymore from a creative standpoint of turning out new logo styles. So for me, I almost would rather kind of go back and kind of almost reset to where like we had whenever I was there, like your classic, white, orange, white, orange, maybe get away from that a little bit, maybe kind of go for a classic reset just to kind of cleanse the palette and then come back to maybe some more creative pieces.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we're still kind of trying to be that, but we don't have new stuff really coming outside of decals.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think Oklahoma State's actually more Oregon than Oregon is in that sense, because we have been cranking out different logos on the helmets and different variations of shells and face masks and all this other stuff. Oregon is actually kind of doing what you're talking about, Nate. They've scaled it back quite a bit. I feel like a lot of what Oregon does now is just a variation of a winged helmet. And every once in a while, they'll have a UO logo, but it's like their classic throwback, whenever they're doing their throwback uniforms or whatever. Everything else is just wing helmet, different color O. They switch out the colors and stuff like that, which I'd be all right if OSU decided to do something like that with some.
They went like speckled egg last week or something. You know what I mean? Like they're still kind of.
They do have some. They do have some special one-offs, and it's kind of like what UCF would have with the space game or something like that. But Houston, whenever they wear their blue uniforms and things like that.
We went through a 5 to 7 year period where our homecoming was that, right? Like we went through the military appreciation times, and we went like the old retro and stuff like that. This year was kind of the first year that I remember homecoming not being something new outside of the decal.
Yeah, definitely. It's typically dating back to 2014. We would have throwback or faux-back kind of logos on the helmets at least, and then sometimes we would have the full throwback uniform. But yeah, and to the question that's being asked here, I don't necessarily think that OSU would ever venture away from having the standard OSU brand logo, and then we'll have some alternate logos every once in a while. It would not make sense. I would not be happy if they went to Cursive Cowboys primarily moving forward. It's a good alternative logo, but we got to stay OSU. His second question here is that where would you all rank this set of uniforms since 2000? We've had 5 different sets, I think. I personally love to see them take a page out of the basketball unis and mixing in some newer stuff with the classics mixed in. It would be sweet for the next set to have more variety, similar to Oregon.
I think we kind of just touched on that, didn't we?
A little bit.
Yeah, I think this set of unis is my favorite of them, and I think all of them have been good in their time. The like chevron look that you guys rocked, that was whenever I was. I don't want to say how old I was whenever you guys played football, but I was like, that's sick. Like I was always a big fan of that. But then whenever they brought them back out for that spring game, they weren't as cool. I was like, ooh, those didn't look as cool as I remembered. The Rudolph unis, those were cool for their time. But nowadays, I think it's a little too busy, and then this one, it's sort of a throwback to those Bear uniforms. It's more similar to that, and I think this is like a more classic look that could go a length of time. But what I think is good about Oklahoma State's uniforms is that I feel like they've always hit for the time period that they've worn them in. So I like these unis. These are, I think, my favorite of the bunch. I like the unis that you guys rocked and have even said, hey, why not let that be a homecoming uni one year? But I don't know, maybe the 2031 homecoming game, whenever it's the 20-year anniversary of 2011, maybe then those guys will rock those unis.
Yeah, for sure. I know back in 2001 through 05, it was probably the worst. The alarm clock font, it was unique to OSU, but it was also not great on the uniforms. For whatever reason, basketball and Gallagher-Iba, they still have that stuff. Like, welcome to historic Gallagher-Iba Arena. It's in that font still. And we had it in the font in our end zone for a very long time, and then they swapped that out. But it's lingering around. There's still part of that. We've got it on the paddle. We've got it on. It's really the font for the OSU logo. It's just that we've taken out the bevels, and it's still kind of that slant Terminator type of font. So anyway, that's interesting to me. But 06 through 2010, Nate, your style, I thought that was great back then too. Like it made sense for the time. And then whenever we started in 2011 and started mixing and matching stuff, chevrons look on the shoulders, great. I thought that there was a little bit of a downgrade when we went to the 2016 through 2022 version. I like the concept of it, but I didn't think it was executed as well as I would have liked to have seen. I couldn't stand the barbed wire font numbers. The one looked horrible, and it just lingered. It seemed like it was like it went past its, it's like, just, we need to move on. And finally we did. I know COVID kind of threw a wrench in that, but I like what we have now. Classic look with a little bit of a modern twist. There's some things I would change about it. I don't necessarily like that we have no pant stripes. I don't love that we have the helmet stripes all the time. I would do different things with the logos and things like that, but that's a preference thing, And then for the black uniforms, I do wish we had like an alternate black where we had orange numbers with the white outline, just to be able to swap it out from time to time, like we have with the white jerseys. So, and then to Dan's point here, mixing in some classic stuff. In a way, we have a modern classic, so you don't necessarily need to, but like the pant stripe, for example, it makes it look classic because of how we have our current modern set. We just don't have pant stripes. So bring that back, and then all of a sudden it's a classic looking uniform.
It's funny that like Rudolph got his career going in 2014, because I like Googled Mason Rudolph Oklahoma State to get the like his version of them, and then I saw a picture from 2014. It was like a jump scare. I was like, wait, who's that?
Whenever he was number 10.
Yeah.
Also,
and then he turned into Tudolph. I felt like I made that up in the OSU student section, but I mean, I'd imagine a bunch of people made that up in the OSU student section that year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot to add. I do think that early iteration, I don't know, I think the brand was like big time too. It not great. And then I really felt like my era and Zach was a Heisman jersey candidate. Like he always had that, rocking the one sleeve with an eye patch. And we were real big on the thin bands back then, so.
Oh yeah.
kind of made the veins pop a little bit, but I thought we looked great, and it was pretty like calm. We every now and then we had that black jersey for senior night against Colorado, which everyone was like, oh my gosh. But then I thought it got better. Like to your point, I thought we progressed. That's a good one. Yeah, that one. I thought that progressively got better. And then I do think just before this iteration was probably a slower step down. And then I do like the chevron, but I feel like we kind of have mixed mashed some of the chevron with some of the older to try to make it different. And they're not made to go together necessarily. So I feel like you see some of these things that you brought up, Justin. So,
with the throwback helmets, not working with.
Yeah, they're just not, I mean, they don't not work, but they don't like click perfectly together, right? It's like the stripe or the chevron shoulder that doesn't really match because we're not going stripe, or no stripe on the pants. And then I don't know. They're just,
well, if you think
we're
about
getting
it,
in the weeds here, but
like the majority of the homecoming helmets that we wore were during that era, from whenever we switched over in 2016 through 2022. That's a big chunk of those homecoming helmets. And there was, 1/2, if you want to count 2020 in there. It wasn't really a homecoming game, but where we had the full throwbacks, and it was like, that looks great. This is what we've always wanted. This is what we've been asking for. And then there was maybe 1 or 2 where the helmet didn't quite look right with the uniforms, but at the same time, it didn't look wrong. It's like a weird mashup just based on the color scheme and how everything fit together. But ultimately, the main gripe that people had from that was that these uniforms are way too modern to be paired with throwback helmets. We need full throwbacks. So yeah, I agree with that sentiment for sure.
I sent you guys a picture of Tatum Bell rocking the what did you call it? Alarm clock.
Yeah, font.
He pulled it off. That guy wore a headband to picture day. That's awesome. There's no way he's wearing that under his helmet. That just would mess everything up in there. That's sick.
Let me tell you another thing about this picture and what needs to make a comeback. And the reason why our current uniforms maybe don't look as good as they could. Look at those shoulder pads and look at those sleeves. That's a classic football look right there. We need to bring back oversized shoulder pads and the big sleeves, because that's what makes these sleeve stripes actually look good. Like with the modern cut of the uniforms, they don't look as good.
Maybe bring back leather helmets while we're at it too. That's all I got. I put those
can't even go to the questions anymore. It's over.
I put those questions in there because I was like, Justin will love this.
We have a few more questions that came up, but we are running out of time. So I'm going to finish off with one more here from OSU Wildman. What is more surprising of the two? How much our O-line has improved, or that our D-line is ranked number 4 in the conference?
Yeah, I don't know where that D-line ranking comes from, but I'd believe it to a certain extent. I think that the fact that the offensive line has continued to improve is the most surprising thing to me, just because, the last offensive iteration of the offensive line had been an offensive line together for like 3-4 years, and it wasn't, things weren't always great. And it was just like, well, this is just sort of who they got. And then, Noah McKinney hits the portal, and all of a sudden he's got, all these options to go play. It's like maybe he should have been playing a little bit earlier, but then he gets hurt, and you bring in a Jacoby Sanders. You've got 2 underclassmen tackles who just continue to get better. Meacham, this isn't the first time. Meacham this week said that Grant Seagram's probably going to be a draft type player by the time all this is said and done. So yeah, I've been super impressed with the O-line. That's where I'd lean on that.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure this D-line, the ranking, but I'm going to kind of couple this together with the question from Cray Stallion. And we talked about, right, we have Wendell Gregory and some guys that are maybe sticking around our defensive tackle that's, in the portal, but not necessarily left yet. I said at the very beginning that I believe very strongly in our coaching staff for the offensive line. And so I am not surprised that the continued maturation and how they've worked together. And they've been hamstrung with no tight end help, really.
I'm impressed, but I'm not surprised.
Exactly. I am impressed. And so, that is the one unit that if I could handpick that gets to stay from the coaching staff, I think that the O-line coaching staff has done more than enough, and that includes Grant Garner, for the opportunity to continue to coach. I think it's important, no matter who it is. They don't have to have they don't have to have OSU ties, right? We've all agreed that it's just the best coach, right? The best opportunity, whoever that may be. But with that being said, if you can find people that have it more ingrained in them that this is something special and it means something to them, which all three of those coaches do, I think it's very important that you need to at least keep a couple of those people around, and as we grow and rebuild. And so I am probably most surprised if that, whatever that D-line ranking is, because they've been pretty terrible until the last 2 weeks against the run when we made the coaching switch. So, from the Arizona game on, they've been pretty good against the run. So I think that's probably most surprising at what we've lost there. And it's just from a schematic standpoint of the things that we've changed. But if I had to hand pick a position group that A, I want to stay, and B, I want the coaches to stay, you brought up Seagren, Noah McKinney, getting huge offers right now. And his data was already pretty good. And then there's a couple others, Mafu, is that correct? Is that his name?
You put both of his first name and second name together. Nuku Mafi.
There it is. Mafu. There it is. Yep. Perfect. And,
what coaches probably call him, so it's all right.
Yeah. And then the left tackle that we lost that really had some big skill that I don't think he'll be back for the rest of the season. You start talking about those coaches that didn't even get an opportunity to truly recruit, the guys that were brought in before they were able actually to do it. And so for me, it's just O-line coaching staff that I would love for them to stay. And then those D-line, what we've done the last couple of weeks with the guys that have been missing and the guys that are sitting out, I'm most surprised by that.
Yeah, as far as assistant coaches being retained go, I think it's so dependent on who gets hired. And then if say Zach Robinson gets hired, if he's got an O-line coach in mind, he's probably going to bring him, and I think that's how I would want it to be, is if Zach's got a guy that he really believes in to coach whatever position, I don't think it's worth, him having to keep somebody and then it not working out. And then it's like, well, I tried to tell you guys that I wanted to bring this guy in for this. And then, so I think it just sort of depends on who's out there. If possible, I would love for the offensive line coaches to hang around, but I don't want that to come in jest if Zach Robinson or whoever has somebody that they really want to hire.
Now, I will say this, and this is something that if you start looking at like true value of these coaching fires that are happening, like Penn State, let's take, for instance, what I never answered who was my least favorite, by the way, BJ James Franklin. Secondly, that entire value goes up to north of $75 million if you bring in the entire new coaching staff. Not saying Penn State isn't going to do it or they're not going to eat it. But what I am saying is that it's not unheard of to bring in a coach and not say, you don't get to bring in the entire new staff. I'll let you pick 6 dudes, and whatever the salaries are, we'll eat those. But I'm not going to eat 15 salaries, right? So to your point, Marshall, I do want the new coach to be able to bring in, especially the people that he thinks are really, like, they have to be there in order for him to implement what he does. I don't think in today's world of college football that automatically is going to be every single coaching staff, all salaries paid are out, because especially at Oklahoma State, these are all first year and they aren't 1-year contracts. So I don't know what the actual real value. I think the real value on Coach Gundy's buyouts is like around, I don't remember. I heard his brother talking about it on the radio, but I think it's going to be like $18 million over the next 3 years is real value, I believe. I could be off on that. But anyways, point being is that goes from, let's just say 20. I could be off, but let's just say 20 million. That could go from 20 to now we're eating 30, 35 million, which that could greatly reduce what Oklahoma State's trying to do from a roster standpoint, because those same boosters are probably the ones that are going to be giving the NIL. So if you go to your coach and be like, I'll let you bring in 5 of your top assistants, a DC, an OC, and this, that may be more of what has to happen if we're going to be competitive in the NIL world.
Good points. Well, we appreciate everybody listening. Got some great comments that have come through on YouTube. The last couple of videos, for example, sounds like or it always feels like you're with close friends having a good chat when we listen. Something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was. I liked it though. It was really good. So keep those coming. Likes, shares, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share it with friends. Share it with some family. And let them know that we're still out here grinding away. And one of these days we'll be able to talk about a good football team. So we'll keep going. Basketball's coming up, wrestling's coming up. So we'll be talking about that pretty soon. But until then, keep those pistols firing and remember to reload. Go Pokes.